What is going on, all you fine folks out there? Welcome to Power to the Ground, the year-end review episode. Tiller's been working hard on this one, or hardly working. We're going to find out today. We're not 100% certain as of right this second. If you're listening to us and you're new, go ahead and drop where you're at. We like to talk about new places. We like to get around. Hey. No, it's we travel quite a bit, so we definitely like to hear where people are. Maybe we've been to your area, maybe we haven't. If we haven't, we'll definitely ask you about some stuff. Also, please do not forget, like, comment, share, and subscribe. We are on YouTube as well as Facebook simultaneously because we're crazy like that, or cool. I don't know. I tried to come up with a cool little hook line and it didn't work. So please like, comment, share, and subscribe. We're just rolling with it, Tiller. I don't even know.
It's gonna make it happen, man.
Yeah, if it's in the brain, it's coming out the mouth right now, apparently. Also, big thank you to Bro Taco Hot Sauce. Stop on over at brotacofoods.com. Use code PTTG for 20%. That's Bro Taco giving the old shaka. Yeah. So big shout out to Sean. He's on his trip right now, I think. So
yeah, he's been posting some sweet pictures on Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm a little jealousy right now.
Yeah, his Facebook has a bunch of crazy stuff on it right now too. But stop on over. Let's load him up with some orders so that when he gets back, he has plenty to do, because spending like a week away, there's probably not enough for him to do when he comes back. Let's get them all loaded up. Also, big thank you to Sunstar, Sprockets, and Chains. No promo code, but if you email them, use something Power to the Ground, something Tiller or Jesse or Steve or Doug, or even if you just want to email the support email and talk shit about us, I'll still give you 30% off. So, and that is, that's Sunstar at sunstar-braking.com. We appreciate all of our sponsors, as well as the good old Nova Pro Media. Nova Pro Media is the one that powers all of this fanciness that goes on in here. It gives me all the buttons to click, and past button clicks, I don't really know the rest. They got us all hooked up on the dual stuff and keep all the websites running. I'm not a technical person, so they just let me know what to click and where to drop it, and that's what I do. Other than that, we got Power, the number 2, theground.com, which is where we do all our fun stuff. We got pick'ems going on there. We got merch that's out there. We have some Jesse's always coming up with crazy designs. Did you see that new one with the Lawrence brothers?
Oh yeah, with the I'm not gonna lie, the first time I looked at it, it was probably, I don't know, good 30, maybe closer to 60 seconds, embarrassingly, before I realized what was happening in the photo. Like, I saw the name and I was like, that's funny. And then I was looking at the rest of it and it just didn't click. And then finally it did.
It finally got all set up.
Yeah, I was trying to read it as like there was a sentence about the scene, maybe, not necessarily like the individual pieces, and then it hit me.
Just right over your head.
Yourself. See how much smarter you are than I am.
I am attempting to pull it over right now. Oh, I forgot about the juggies. You got to get you some of the juggies. I think he's coming out with the A through double D cups because we're all a bunch of man children. We come up with cool names for stuff. He does have a 17 ouncer that is up there right now. I'm clicking a bunch of buttons trying to bring stuff over so that I can show you folks that are following along on video. If you are on audio, I apologize. I can't make pictures show up in audio. However, if you stop on over to Power, the number 2, theground.com, you can see all this fun stuff for yourself. So here's the brothers Lawrence. I'll try to describe it. It's got the Brothers Lawrence on the chest, and then it has a little stick figure hunter guy down in the corner and a jet flying over it. And here's the sweet juggy bottles. So this is the A cup. It's 17 ounces, and he is currently working on getting all the way up to 64 ounces. So stop on over, hit Jesse up on the Power to the Ground website, get you some sweet merch. That's really all I have. We're gonna let Tiller take over and kind of run the show. He's a lot more structured than I am, so it might actually make a little bit more sense than when I'm just sitting here like, oh yeah, or oh, I forgot to bring this up an hour ago, so let's talk about it now. So
we'll see. I've got some goals for us to hit. Not necessarily. We'll see. There's probably going to be some jumping around because even as I was making my outline, I jumped around in my outline a couple times, being like, "Oh no, I already pointed that out." So we'll see how it goes.
see, he's got an outline, folks. He's fancy.
I tried it this time. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We may go back to unstructured for the 450 show next week. We'll see.
Yeah, that's probably why I was never good in school, is the whole structure thing. I'm like,
follow an outline, Doug.
I'm trying.
We'll figure it out.
Right.
So the big thing with the 250s, we ended up with 2 champions in the 250 class. For better or for worse, they could have been first place, second place, but we ended up with 2 separate champions on the backwards coast for 2021. We had the East champion was Colt Nichols, who was number 64 this year, RIP number 13. Second place in the East Coast was Joe Shimoda. So Colt had 210 points. Joe Shimoda had 181. Jet Lawrence finished in third with 177. He finished a whole season this year, which is not cracking on him. It's just exciting.
That's crazy.
Maybe a little bit of cracking on him, but he finished the season. I admittedly did not think he was going to finish the season. I figured he'd get hurt.
Yeah.
But the person that ended up getting hurt and losing a chance at the championship was Christian Craig, who finished fourth overall with 158 points. And then Michael Mosman, who also had some really interesting rides that I'm sure we'll talk about with 124 points. For somebody who I would have thought off the cuff was closer in the hunt because of his good rides, sitting here looking at it again, being, what is that, 86 points off, almost 90 points off the lead. He actually was not doing as good as I thought he was going to. For the championship. So I think just overall, when you look at the top 5, it's exciting that Colt won this year, of course, but then you've got some of the better improved rides of Joe Shimoda, which we'll talk about later when we get into it. Jet Lawrence said he finished the whole season, which is great. Christian Craig, who we thought would be a title contender, missed the last 2 races of the season, putting him in fourth. So just looking at the top 5 in general for the 250 East Coast, I keep having to look at this backwards. East Coast, I think there's some storylines there that are just kind of stand out on their own before you even really get into the individual riders or any individual races, compared to what you would expect when you looked at who was registered for that coast, right?
Yeah.
And then we can just jump over to the West Coast real fast to talk about the championship hunt there. So our winner in the West Coast was Justin Cooper with 194. And then Hunter Lawrence, the other of the brothers Lawrence, finished second with 181. Cameron Mcadoo finished third with 177. Seth Hammacker finished 160 in fourth place, and then Jalik Swole finished fifth in with 153 points. Did I say Seth Hammacker finished in 160th place, or did I get that right? Doesn't matter. Let's move on.
We're too far now.
Too far gone. I either messed up or accidentally messed up trying to correct myself. So I think the interesting thing to look at here, off the
is
top,
it
the first
second and third place, or both have the same number of points on each coast?
Holy cow! Third place on both coasts. Oh my goodness, I do.
And second and third, yeah, that's weird. I wonder how many times that's happened.
Oh, I might have to try to look that up. That's crazy. I mean,
that is
they have a smaller number of races, but even then, when you still think about the total possible combinations of point spanning positions that can get you that for over a course of 9 races, for that to happen 2 places on both coasts, that's pretty crazy.
It's pretty entertaining.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to take a look at that. It might be a fun Facebook post one day. But the 194 compared to 210, 16 points off. It's not that big of a difference, but it just feels a lot closer when you look at 194 to 177 or even to 160, because then you're at 34 points between those 4. So if Justin Cooper would have missed a race like Craig did, that could have been a lot tighter of a between Lawrence and Mcadoo. Just one race. So there
Yeah.
was definitely some things closer on the line over the course of the season between this coast, I think, as far as how many more people could have been in contention. Whereas, it would have taken Christian and Colt to fall out for the next 2 guys on the East Coast to be close. So I definitely think I've just kind of from my gut feeling, the West Coast races were more exciting overall in a championship. I think the East Coast definitely still had some interesting rides when you think about some of the individual races and performances you saw from guys like Jet or definitely Joe. I still remember, what was the race? Was it one of the Houston races where we did the first cows cross the season, where Joe was just railing it?
Indy 3.
Oh, was that the one you didn't go to at Indy where we did the cows cross? Yeah, that one. I was thinking it was Houston because I was thinking you were at all 3 Indy rounds.
No, I didn't go to that one, and I remember it because I was late joining because I was recording the Down and Dirty episode with my brother where we were going over kind of what he thought about his first Supercross race.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember that now. But yeah, I still remember watching Joe with that race just being, that was 6 races in.
He was
But I
on
was still
fire.
super excited watching him even more this year.
That push right across the rhythm section where I was sitting, where he ended up landing like on the leader flashy light thing, was insane. Like I wish I was there to be able to see that, because the amount of speed that he can carry when he's in a sprint is insane. And he's so smooth that when he does take it up that extra 5-10%, like it doesn't have a dramatic impact like when, say, Jet does it, or Moseman, or somebody that's more of a passionate rider compared to like a smooth rider. So watching
interesting to watch this year.
Yeah,
exciting to watch. Interesting decision to adjust this.
And he's so I don't know, he's so soft spoken too. Like you don't expect it, where he'll just be like, and we're gone.
Yeah. Yes, soft spoken in how he physically performs and rides the bike, and then also in how he actually speaks and conveys his thoughts, and when he's on his podium interviews, which I'm sure we can get to when we get to touch on him closer. Yeah, let's see. Another thing I wanted to pull up real fast was, where we can get to it. I think in the West Coast versus the East Coast, just in general, I think there were more people on the West Coast that we would have expected to be in the top 5 that didn't make it in, versus the East Coast. Everybody outside of the top 5, they're like, okay, he didn't make it in the top 5. No big deal. Like, 6th, 7th, and 8th were Josh Osby, Joshua Farese, and Thomas Doe. Anybody expect those guys to be in the top 5? Maybe Mitchell Oldenburg, because he was on a factory team.
But
he's not got. He's just in his 4th year.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, it's not Hunters or Jets or Shimoda's or.
Oh yeah, but he's not a guy they've been talking about for 3 years going into the class either, though.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think while he was a factory guy, I mean, he he didn't have some. He wasn't at the last two races, so that doesn't help.
Yeah, that'll definitely mess it up a little bit.
But being 91 points off, or being at 91 points, he would have been knocking on fifth place, but it would have been him or Moseman, which, it is what it is.
Well, I mean, he didn't have a very good residency in Indianapolis from what I remember either. He had a couple pretty decent wrecks that kind of took him right out of the game.
Yeah, Houston 3 and Indy 2. He finished with 3 points.
Maybe those are the two I'm thinking of. I know the Indy one, he yard sailed the bike right in front of me, and all you heard was the frame and everything slapping the concrete. So,
is that the same one where? Oh yeah, because that was the race, right?
Yeah,
that was the same. That was the one where he caused the big stink by his bike locking up in the heat race, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's hard when you're there because you can't hear anything. All you hear is bikes the whole time.
Yeah, especially when you're inside of one of those stadiums like that. Yeah. So I guess kind of where I was going to that was if we were going to kind of vote on which coast was the best coast this round. We're just on a general kind of subjective feeling. Which one would you vote, or do you feel like was the better coast overall?
It's hard to say.
However you want. You can go off like rider talent or which one provided the best show. Because I don't think there's any real, unless you wanted to vote individually on each category. I think for this you can just looking for.
Yeah, I mean,
a fan of the sport.
It's hard to say because there was definitely, it seemed like more action or like liver races on the West Coast, but I feel like the East Coast had better races, if that makes sense. Like there wasn't as many like crazy things happening on the East Coast. It was more of a traditional style Supercross where I feel like the West Coast was just everywhere at once,
Mm-hmm.
But the schedule is hard because the first half of the season was all East Coast, and then the second half was all West Coast. So you kind of forget about the East Coast races, So it's definitely hard.
Yeah, the East Coast guys didn't get Daytona or
Atlanta,
so they didn't get any of those interesting tracks to see how they were going to do. It was colder when they got to race at Indy. I don't think it was.
It was
cold in Houston when they were there, but
it was cold in Indy. I can tell you that.
I have no doubt it was because that was still in February when the Indy rounds happened, right?
February or March. I can't remember. I just remember being at freezing cold, dude. I was standing out at the pit gate talking to some of the guys, and by the time we got done just like smoking and joking, man, I couldn't feel my hands or my face. It took me forever to get warmed back up.
Couldn't feel it.
And that's, I mean, I'm from around here, so I'm kind of used to the cold, but it was like that wet cold, where it's like a heavy cold. It doesn't really matter what you wear or where you're at. It was kind of like sleet. It was disgusting.
That round always looks difficult for even the riders to deal with too, because you always see photos of them being outside and like snow on the rigs or something, and they're bundled up.
Oh yeah,
and all the layers, and then they got to go inside where it's still probably not super warm. Until
it wasn't horrible inside. I would probably put it like 65. I mean, it wasn't hot, but it wasn't like compared to outside. It was summer.
Yeah.
So, but you also have to figure all the privateers trying to run out of a van or doing anything crazy like that. I mean, that's got to suck to pit out of a van when you're in Indy. Or doing, what was that, Justin Starling, where he pitted out of a rental car on the last round?
Oh, yeah, I saw photos of that. That was insane.
Like, I couldn't imagine trying to do that at Indy, unless you have an enclosed vehicle.
Yeah. even then, even some of these fancy vans that these guys are, some of the privateers can afford now. Yeah, you might have room to maybe do something in, but that's still not a lot
Oh,
of
you're
room.
not.
And I've slept
Yeah.
in a van while it's on and the heat's running on a cold night. That floor still gets cold. Your
Oh,
body
yeah.
still gets cold in there. Like it's not a sauna.
Yeah. Yeah. That's. I mean, I don't know how they did it, man. It was cold, though.
So
And
that's something to think about. Something to think about. But yeah, so where are you putting? Are you putting your money more on the East Coast guys, the Colton Christian Coast?
uh,
Not guys, just the
no,
coast. Maybe just the coast in general.
no. I think the West was more entertaining to watch, especially because I mean, you got Mcadoo who likes to wreck and get back up like some type of superhero.
Gumby
You know,
man.
you got Hunter Lawrence that would have bad starts or maybe get jammed up in the first corner and then charge through the field. You had um, Jalik Swole would do good. You had what what was it, Thrasher, who came out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you had it, I don't know. I just feel like the racing was much better on the West than it was the East. And I'm not saying that the East was bad, but what I'm saying is I liked the racing on the West a little bit better. And it could have everything to do with the tracks that they raced as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they were definitely, they won the track lottery this year for sure. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like zero questions asked. They definitely won those. So I, if the roles were reversed, I might be saying the East Coast had better racing. Same guys, just different track selection. So
Yeah.
but I'll have to go with the West.
I
I
don't
just,
I don't think there's a wrong answer there, and I definitely think for all the reasons you gave, they definitely had some really crazy entertainment value. There were definitely some races that didn't provide the kind of back and forth like Colton Christian had overall,
yeah,
or Jet and Joe getting in there tight sometimes. There were some runaway races by the two from Thrasher and whatnot. But yeah, I think general just overall field entertainment value, I think the West Coast could easily be argued as the better one, just for
yeah.
entertainment value alone.
Now, talent wise, the East Coast all day. But I mean, it just the top three, top four, I think, hold their own. Just those four on the East Coast versus all the West Coast guys. Those guys could hold their own. You know, um, but yeah, I don't know. Entertainment value goes to the West. Talent goes to the East. I definitely think the East Coast was harder to break into kind of the top 4 or 5 in any given race weekend. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it kind of pretty much turned out, except for Craig getting hurt. It pretty much turned out exactly how we thought it was going to turn out.
Yeah. And even the Craig incident was definitely something. It added some excitement um, to the situation right there at the end, because that was somebody who got everybody was really excited about. He was really emotional about that first win. That day
Yeah,
he did really good, and then all of a sudden the turnaround, that was definitely some emotion going on in
yeah,
that series. Um, let's see. So then we want to talk overall, just maybe some individual things before we start going over individual riders. Maybe what you wouldn't have to necessarily pick one person, but I'll start with my thoughts on it as far as just a most improved um, rider. Either series, not necessarily one from each, but if you want to do one from each, that's fine. But for me, I think my most improved just gut feeling, because of the impression it made on me, was Joe. Um, they he and the Honda guys had, last hurrah there at the last round at Outdoors last year, and it's not like they were doing bad. So I don't think I'd put money on it and say that objectively, fact based, that he was definitely the most improved rider. But for me, I got the most excited by his overall improvement over the course of the series, just from getting to see him be out in public more, do more interviews, talk to more people. His how humble he was on the podium when he got on there that first time, where he was like, I didn't earn this, and
Yeah.
you can get mad at him, or not mad at
I
him, but
think
you can be like, Joe, you should, but I can respect him and his culture saying that about
I
not
think
being there
the
too.
biggest thing about Shimoda this year is it wasn't all the Lawrence brothers being on Honda 24/7 about everything, and Joe had the ability to actually kind of not shine through, but at least get on their level as far as like a media, where he's not on the same team as those guys. Not everything in the media coming to that team is about those guys. Not,
Hmm.
and I think because a lot of people were sleeping on Shimoda last year, you know, both in Supercross and outdoors, and he was always right there. But it was always, look at this 16-year-old kid that came from Australia,
Hmm.
and Shimoda held his own against Jet and Hunter in MXGP too. It's just everyone was so focused on it's these brothers from Australia like Chad Reed, and they're pretty young. And I mean, Joe's still the same age. The only difference is he's not super outspoken and eats donuts, you
Yeah.
know? So a lot of people were sleeping on him, and I think I might have said it at the beginning of the year. I can't wholeheartedly remember like that. Don't sleep on Joe. Like he's gonna be there, like top three, and he was all. Even if Craig didn't get hurt, he was still top three, a solid top three.
Hmm.
So I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's a good point you made that he wasn't there to play second or third fiddle to the Lawrence brothers on the same team this year
Yeah,
like he was last year. He was. I think. I mean, he was the 160. He was the best guy on the PC team this year as far as points earned. Um, he beat Mcadoo by 4 points.
yeah,
He didn't put on a crazy display of flexibility. Like that sounded bad.
yeah,
Like 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 Mcadoo did. Um, he definitely didn't get talked about probably as much as Mcadoo. If you're going to count some hashtag mentions. But
yeah.
I mean,
But
he scored more points than Mcadoo. That's.
he's a silent assassin, man.
Mm,
Just straight up like some ninja shit, dude. Like he doesn't need to be the center of attention. He's good at what he does, and he just lets that speak for itself. And people are finally starting to take notice. Like
mm,
I will wholeheartedly agree. He might be the most improved in the public eye, if that makes sense. Like his actual presence within the sport is probably the most improved. He turned a lot of people on to him this year, you know,
mm,
and it's I mean, strictly going by like statistics from last year, years past, or how long he's actually been doing Supercross or anything like that. Like I'm still stuck with the other three that I brought up earlier, which was Carnow, Shock, and Harrison. I mean, they don't have the minus Harrison really. They don't really have the worldwide racing background that like Shimoda or the Lawrence brothers have, and
mm,
and Harrison, I think the furthest he got up doing GP was MX3. I think he didn't even make it all the way up to 2. So it's and for him to come out swinging like he did this year is pretty nice. I mean, he's on what a factory supported team with Muckoff. I think he races for, right?
yeah, on the Honda.
Yeah, and Carnow is, I mean, he's a privateer for all intents and purposes. I mean, and for him to do as good as he did. I think he might have been the highest scoring privateer out of both coasts. I'm not 100% on that, but looking at some of his past stuff, he never really broke the 30s, and now all of a sudden he's way up there, you know?
Yeah. I don't know if Farese and Osby, when I'm looking at, doesn't have their teams represented. I can't remember, but
Osby's on a team, I think.
Farese, Osby, and Doe were above him on that coast.
Yeah, Osby races for... Who does Osby race for? He's a team guy, I think.
I think their
I
teams
could be.
might be more important than their hometowns on AMA lists. Just going to throw that out there because their hometowns are always so accurate.
Trying to get the AMA to do anything except for mess things up is pretty much impossible.
Mm-hmm.
So let me look. Osby. Yeah, Osby races for Phoenix Racing.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he had 33 points last year.
Yeah.
Shock had 6 points.
Yep.
And Harrison is not showing at all last year.
Yeah.
So by default,
and that's, I mean, even Thomas Doe raced 2016, 2019, and then 2021. I mean, granted, it looks like he only raced one race in 16 and 19, but I mean, he came out swinging too. To be honest with you, I kind of forgot about him.
I think I mean, they didn't talk about him a whole lot, I don't think. But where's he from? I want to make sure
we got
the right guy.
Josh Farese that came out of nowhere too. I kind of forgot about him too. The 104 points, sitting in 7th.
Yeah, I remember talk about Farese because for Fantasy Talk, I'm pretty sure Doe's not from Marietta, California. But yeah, I remember a lot of those guys getting talked about for, they've been around, been racing in other places before.
Nah, Doe's from France, I think.
That's what I was thinking. I kept getting him, and I wanted to get him, and I think Thury is from Europe also, but I kept getting their home countries backwards, and I could never remember which one was France and which one wasn't, because I don't think
Doe is France. I'm on the Racer X site. I don't even mess with the AMA site, man. There's so many glitches and bugs with it I just kind of jumped over to the Racer X, just their point standings and stuff like that. They're usually a little bit, at least figuring out who's on what team and where they're from is a lot better that way.
But, yeah, I mean, all those guys did pretty, relatively well, more improved, and Carnow did. Where did he finish up in? How many points did he finish? Didn't he earn points in the 450, or did he not make it in any of the 450 rounds he raced?
I don't think he made it into any of the 450s, but he did race 450 last year and got 1 point. But from 2015 to 2021, I mean, he's raced East Coast, East Coast, East Coast, West Coast, 450 and West Coast, and then East Coast. And he went from 30th, 32nd, 33rd, 21st, 38th, 21st to 10th, bro.
It's definitely improved.
He more than doubled his points from last year. And he had a couple where he went out there and either his bike was broken or something happened, and he ended up pulling off, because I remember getting super pissed because I had him in fantasy.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I've probably said something about it, like, don't be a car now, finish the race, But I mean, I can't hate on him. He's a fast kid, and he's doing it all himself. So
deserves some credit, that's for sure.
Yeah. A most improved factory guy. I don't know. It's hard to say with those, because that's a whole different world.
Harlan was doing really good too before he had, what was it, which rounds? Those Indy rounds he didn't do the best in. He was doing really good in Houston. The Indy rounds he didn't do as well in. And then
That kid came out of nowhere too.
I thought he got, maybe that's why he didn't do well in Indy, was because he was riding hurt.
Yeah, he was
The
messed
fact
up
that
a
he
little
didn't,
bit.
for some reason I thought he got hurt and wasn't coming back, and that's why he wasn't at Salt Lake City. Maybe he just didn't go
Yeah,
to Salt Lake City because he wasn't sitting best in the championship points and wasn't.
nah, he was beat up pretty good. He was on all the so he missed, let's see, he
No, I had
missed
it backwards.
Arlington
He didn't do
1,
Houston
2,
well.
and
He
3.
did Indy really well.
Yeah.
And then he got hurt, I think, after Orlando, because Orlando he did not do well.
Yeah, he missed all the Arlington rounds, all the Atlanta rounds, and all the Salt Lake rounds.
Well, he wasn't on the West Coast.
Oh,
He
I don't
did
know.
he did all of the East Coast rounds except for the Salt Lake City.
Yeah, he just pops up on the injury report, man.
Yeah, I can't remember, but I do remember being impressed by him because he caught my eye
In outdoors.
2 years ago. Seeing him in Atlanta out of nowhere, he just came and performed really well at Atlanta. And then last year at Outdoors, you and I talked about him a lot, watching him, and he kept going and going and going.
Yeah, he was at he ran Ironman, Redbud, both Redbuds, Spring Creek, and Thunder Valley last year in outdoors. And I remember seeing him in the LCQ, and I was like, hey man, like pick this guy up on fantasy right now.
Yeah, killing it.
So
Let's see. So I did want to say I pulled up some comparisons for Joe, just since he was my kind of pick off the cuff last year. Just this is his overall improvement is pretty stellar. Last year, his average qualifying position was 9.1. This year, 5.6. One whole shot this year, 0 last year. You know, there's only so many of those to hand out. His
Yeah.
average start went from 10 last year to 7th this year. He actually led laps this year, 19 in total, 0 last year. His average finish went from a 9.4 to a 3.7.
yeah,
He won a race this year, and he finished 59 points higher.
Yeah, 1 point higher in the overall though. That's kind of right. Like he was still top 3 last year, which is crazy. Everybody's still sleeping on him.
Top
3 in
well, that's just how
Supercross.
crazy. That's how crazy last year was. You know, it was the Shane and Chase show last year. They just won everything, and then if you look last year, 3rd through 7th, we're all 18 points off.
Yeah.
18 points separated the 3rd through 7th last year. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens when you have two guys that run away with it and really just trade wins each week, and everybody else is left to fight for the scraps.
Yeah.
When you got a point system that has such high gaps between the first 3 spots.
I mean, it pays to win, man.
So that was just the kind of the most improved. Jeff, anything else that you wanted to add to the most improved topic of the show?
Yes. Most improved broadcast was Daniel Blair in the booth over the rest of them jokers.
I personally like Lee and this fuzzy webcam. Okay. Like Lee, it might just be like the history I have with him and all like the motorsports stuff that he's covered.
Oh, I do too. That's my second pick. If Daniel's
I enjoyed
not available.
having him in when he started the season. It was nice having him on there because he's just even keel. I don't think Ralph's a bad person. I just don't like his style.
Yeah.
I like Lee's style, and he was good. I'm sure he probably said things wrong, and I probably ignored it just because I was used to him and I liked his style. I don't care if Todd Harris has done bar to bar forever. That dude, no. I think it's the same reason I don't like Ralph. It's just it's too much. Like the stuff we're watching isn't exciting. I don't need you like accidentally saying dumb stuff because you're trying to be too exciting. I
Yeah.
mean, granted, it was funny every time he said the big D
Yeah.
when they were racing at the Arlington races. It was funny. I giggled like a little child.
Yeah.
The name's wrong. All the other stuff. A colt in a field of stallions. That's what he said when Colt won the. Does he know what a colt is compared to stallions? It's the
Colt's the
dumbest
name of my
thing.
big dog. That's all I know. But he's afraid of horses, so that still wouldn't work.
No. Yeah, no, it'd be like Colt running away from a field of stallions. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, like, he wasn't. I'm sure he probably did 1,000 times than I could ever do up there. In that Todd wasn't there. So to your point, having DB up there feeling like fun because he's been able to get more comfortable with Ricky over the past like couple of years, and those two genuinely, you can tell those two genuinely know each other and
Yeah.
genuinely have fun together. That was a refreshing just feel.
Well, they're both incredibly smart with the riders, the track, the
Mm-hmm.
bikes, the racecraft, and they fed off each other so well, I thought.
I think that's what Ricky needs. Ricky needs somebody to like
He
trigger him
needs
to say the
he
right
needs
stuff.
adult
Otherwise, just
supervision.
kind of
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
I mean, I think Ricky's good to have him up there. It's nice having the goat in the booth to even like advertise,
No.
and he's fun. Um, and I can totally get why some people don't like him in there. I
Yeah.
personally think you get a guy like DB that knows how to get him to feel comfortable talking. Where like Todd doesn't know what to say to get Ricky to say the right stuff.
Yeah.
Ricky needs the right partner. I don't think Todd could do that well with the right partner. Anyways, but we can go on and on about that. So yeah, DB, having him get up there, he did so much. I love the new race day live format. I miss Jim Hawley, but having DB run like co-run race day live,
Yeah.
was great. He did better there. Having him in the booth was great. I think DB just overall improved. Period. This year, and
He's
it
just
was fun to
a
watch.
fun guy anyway.
Yeah,
You
he's
know.
hard not to cheer for just in general. I mean, if you follow
Yeah.
him in any of the stuff he does, it's just great to cheer for him. Um, yeah, I agree. DB,
That
DB
was
in the broadcast, man.
that was the overall best improvement. And then we only got it for 1 week.
Just 1 week.
I know.
But he got to live a dream though, so that's good. We can
And
cheers
hopefully
to
he turned enough eyes to be able to get him a little bit more next year.
that. Yeah,
I mean,
hopefully
it's
they'll be
like you
like, hey,
said,
look, we can pay
he's
this. We're already paying him,
yeah,
so
he's done. I mean, move Tyler up to DB spot on Race Day Live and bounce DB over to the main broadcast, man.
yeah.
I think Tyler Echtignap could bring quite a bit to the table as well. Just listening to him and talking to him at Indy,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, dang, like, got a future in this stuff, man. Like,
He seems
he
to be having
definitely
fun with
does.
it.
Oh, yeah. Dude,
It's
he's
exciting
cracking
that they
jokes and
use him that
everything.
much.
And he was walking around, like, just in the crowd, just talking to people, like, messing with kids and stuff like that. Like, it was fun.
Yeah.
He's actually a really cool dude. And I do want to see him go a little bit further. I did feel sorry for Albrecht. He looked like a deer in the headlights when he had to do all his little spots on that same broadcast with DB. He's like, yeah, on the pit board.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was them just trying to give him easy stuff to do because I don't think he's ever really done it before.
Yeah, some
But
of the stuff they set him up with did not make him look the best. But again, half those guys don't
they
come up with that stuff on their own. So I
they
think
did the
he
same
did a
thing
pretty good
with
job for his
Rutledge. Yeah,
first job. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they made Rutledge
Rut-
wasn't sitting around being like, "Hey, let me come up and do this." Yeah,
well,
Albrecht, for somebody who's probably not been in front of a camera that often, if you heard him
yeah.
on like the Pulp show 2 weeks ago and how big of a goofball he was on that show, to all of a
Oh
sudden
yeah,
doing as well, like presenting himself and
he got
carrying his
nervous, man. Yeah,
speech and stuff is pretty good. And I just like the segments that they were like, hey, this guy clearly knows that. Some of those mechanical segments they did that night
yeah.
were pretty. pretty
Speaking
exciting.
of mechanical segments, man, what was your favorite Science of Supercross, dude? I like that.
Um,
When they don't fill it with monster bullshit, I like that. I
it
think it's a
wasn't
cool.
the Monster Hydration ad. That one was the worst one. Jeff
Yeah.
Ward looked so disinterested behind the glasses you couldn't see through. It was just an absolute terrible ad. It was the
Oh
worst
yeah.
Science of Supercross in the history of Science of Supercross. Is the worst. It was
Oh
clearly
yeah.
an ad, and I hated it, every single bit of it.
What
Um,
was your favorite though, man?
for hilarity, the memes that spawned from the eye test one, the
Oh
first
yeah.
eye test one, that one was hilarious. I don't know which one was my favorite. I can't think of my favorite one I was unprepared for this.
Ha.
Um,
That's what I'm good at. I'm like, here, hold on to this.
I think I don't know. I think just overall the segment's getting better as Jeremy's getting more comfortable doing it.
Yeah.
In his like presentation during the recordings and everything, he's clearly more comfortable talking about it, and it's not like he's doing just a pure ad read. And then this year, I know in the past they've done it, but this year bringing in more of the riders, like they had a Hammaker one. What was it, the Whoops with Hammaker? And then they had
I
one with
think so.
Mcadoo and stuff.
Yeah.
I think just overall, I just enjoyed them a little bit more, except for that
My
ad read. That was the worst. It went from like really, really good, and then there was just one bombshell, and then the
oh
rest
yeah.
were.
That's the eye twitch one. Like the I don't even know. It it was about like head injuries or something, wasn't it?
Well,
It was
they
like a
talked about how that
neuroscience
could.
and reaction times and
I
stuff.
think they had two of them on that same
There was a long one
similar
and a short
subject.
one. The
Um,
short one kind of wasn't that good. The long one where they actually got in depth with like the neuroscience behind it,
mhm,
I thought that one was excellent. Like that was probably one of my favorite ones because how many times do you have to learn like tire compounds and how the start gate works and like how does the monster girl know when the 30-second board is up? Like
mhm. Yeah,
those
how many
ones
times can
are
you talk about how steep jumps are and what like triples and doubles and what that
yeah.
means for like time in the air versus not? Yeah, this I think there were two of them, and I enjoyed both of them. I can't remember why. Maybe they were touching on two slightly different things as far as just like their thinking speed versus their eye speed. Maybe that's what it was. It was like
Yeah.
reaction time versus eye speed because they had the eye speed
That
one
was
where they like accidentally made fun of Rutledge and showed that he had.
oh yeah.
They were like, "You might have had a really bad injury one time," and he was just like,
Yeah.
oh, okay."
I think
uh,
that was the short one that was on the broadcast, and then they put another one up on YouTube that was like the full thing because it was like 2 or 3 times longer.
maybe that's what it was. Maybe I was thinking of like two different ones that they posted, but they were all the same thing because they were so close. I'll have to go back and look at
Yeah,
those. But yeah,
with
I do
the
remember those, like the neural ones that they talked about between like
like
the eye and the reaction time and
yeah,
thinking about. And yeah, because I think wasn't that one too where they were talking about
they had one of the
like
younger
just
kids on
memorizing
it.
the track a
Yeah,
bit too, and like how much you got to focus on and everything on there.
yeah.
So yeah, I think the science Supercross is definitely getting better.
Let's hope it continues its upward swing. Maybe
Yeah.
let's just hope it was just like a little blip, like some stock market stuff. Like it's like and
Hmm.
it
Yeah.
keeps going back up. Let's
No more
see.
disinterested ad reads about Jeff Ward, please.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
let's see. So we got that. So then let's see. Uh, let's just run down some list of riders and see if we need to talk any more about them or say some piece and move on. Um, in no particular order other than maybe just kind of the order my brain thought of. What do we want to say about Cameron McAdoo? Anything other than holy cow, what a story! This kid's had some history. Glad he's got a ride. Glad he knows how to ride. Looks like he's got speed when he can keep it together. And who's his yoga trainer?
Uh, I stick with kind of what I said a couple weeks ago, where he's got the speed, but he's got that James Stewart mentality where
Hmm.
he's got enough speed that he can tone it back 1 or 2% and do better than he can at 100%.
Yeah, I think that.
That's
Yeah,
really all. That's
really. We've
really
touched on
what I
him.
got on him. Yeah, he's
I'm impressed with him and the results that he did put out. I'm glad he made it through okay. After some of those crazy crashes he had in Atlanta.
oh yeah.
I'm excited to see what he can do next year. Maybe he does like we said, dial it back to 99 to finish.
You
To
got to
finish the
finish the
series.
race first in
Hmm.
order to finish first in the race, man.
Yep.
And that's some of these kids tend to forget that.
Yeah. So then we've gone over Joe.
Yeah, pretty much
He,
at nauseum by
he
this point
killed
in the season.
he killed it. We're proud of him. I can't wait to see what he does outdoors. I don't think the ride from him at the end of outdoors last year was just because the championship guys were mailed at home. I mean, there might have
Yeah,
been some of that, but he was also, like you said, he was there to finish a race in a series, so he did
yeah,
good.
yeah. He
Um,
did. I was. I mean, I'm always impressed with Joe, and it's hard to say. It's hard to say his name now without doing like the who sung that song?
my Sharona
My
song.
Sharona song, dude. It's hard to say his name without bringing that up now.
Oh, I hate you for putting that in my brain. Earworm,
Joe
earworm.
Shimoda. Like it's just hard not to.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see. I highly recommend if you haven't listened to it. He did a really cool interview with the guys at the DMXS podcast that I really enjoyed. That was one of my favorite interviews from the season. If you were just on the fence about Joe, just to be like kind of neutral, not so much like love or hate, but just general neutral, you listen to that. I think it'll be hard to come out not just enjoying the kid more. Next on the apparently I was on the PC train when I was putting this together. Seth Hammacker.
I mean, he's still young, so it's hard to really pass too much judgment or expect too much.
Hmm.
I don't know. He's from an area that's not exactly known for their motorcycle prowess in general, so that's kind of surprising that he's made it through everything. And he's still. It's a lot like I say with Jet and well, most of these 250 kids, man, they're just kids. It's let's see what happens in a year or two,
Hmm.
especially when you're going up against guys that have been racing 250s forever, Craig, Nichols. Well, they didn't race this year, but the Martin brothers. And I mean,
Yeah.
there's some career guys that we're trying to
Forget about the Martin
judge these
brothers.
kids up against, and it's how how do you judge a kid that's only a year or two into his career versus these guys that have been racing 250s for what feels like 15 years?
Hmm.
Like that's kind of a hard judge. Like you have to mentally try to take the career 250 guys out of your brain for a second and just kind of judge as if they weren't there. And I mean, that's hard to do because the career guys have been around so long.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing about, I guess, the exciting thing for Hammaker I was going to mention was just, he won the 250 Rookie of the Year, which a whole other conversation to have about how that's rewarded. I think the safest way to reward Rookie of the Year is who scores the most points.
Yeah.
Like there's if you try to get subjective about Rookie of the Year, then you're just going to have a drag out argument about who should have won it. It's never going to stop. Everybody's opinion is going to be different. And everybody's going to say this person should have won it. If you keep it objective and Rookie of the Year is who scored the most points, I think that's how the championship gets paid. The
Yeah.
championship's not an objective thing. It's the points
It's
are
not
there
a
for a reason. So I think it's the safest way to do it. And he was the guy with the 3-digit number that scored the most points.
I don't disagree with it.
Yeah.
I think he had a phenomenal year. To be honest with you, I don't know enough about the kid to go into an in-depth conversation about him.
Oh yeah, and I don't either. I just think it's I think for a legitimate rookie, in the series this year to finish fourth on his coast, above a lot of guys with experience in the class, to race in it. Pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. Then we got
The Hunter.
the Lawrence brothers, the brothers Lawrence.
I mean, I don't know what else to say except Hunter had a phenomenal year and Jet did pretty much what we expected him to do. I mean, it with Hunter, his whole Supercross career was kind of a crapshoot, wild card, what's going to happen type of ordeal. And he came out and said, "Hold my beer while you guys are talking about my brother. I've been laying down some practice laps."
Yeah, other than winning this, I don't think the season could have gone any better for him. After all the talk that there's been about him, like, oh, don't forget about Hunter. He's hurt. He's going to come racing soon too. He's the older brother. He's going to come back. He's had all this experience, and he came back and he proved that, like, no, I was worth talking about. I'm actually here. I'm the reason why we're here for the most part. And he showed phenomenal speed. When he had bad accidents, he came back. I mean, even the last race, he went down and still charged back to finish where he did on the last race in third place. Yeah,
very true.
Hunter put on a hell of a performance, and I'm excited to see it. And I can't wait to see what both of those two do outdoors, because I think that's going to be the separation between those two is outdoors. If those two end up second and third, or third and second, or first and second, or side by side in the championship, I'm going to be a little disappointed. Like, I want to see one of them do drastically better at 2 30-minute motos in outdoor weather.
Oh yeah.
I want to see it. I want to see one of them just crush the other one.
I'm a huge outdoor fan. Supercross is just kind of like I don't know, so I don't go through withdrawals drug, but outdoors is my main line, man. That's especially going to the track, standing 5 feet from there while they're flying by at like 60 miles an hour, hitting gigantic jumps.
Hopefully we'll get to do the Ironman party this year, like we've been talking about. I'm
gonna be there, guy. Like, I will get a little cardboard cutout Austin Tiller face and just walk around with it, dude. Like, I'm gonna be there.
Worst case, if we have to, we can do that. Maybe if we have to. Yeah. So then Jet. Nate
I don't
Thrasher.
know. Thrasher is another one like Hammacker. Had great amateur career. You knew he was going to come out and do something good.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of sucks that these guys came out their rookie year and did so well, because now there is expectations for next year, and everyone knows that the sophomore year is usually the hardest because you have expectations not only from the people around you, but yourself. And I don't know. I think we're going to, how do I say this? I don't think we're going to see such a flash in the pan next year from both Hammacker and Thrasher. I think they're going to be more of like the standard second year type of guy, maybe finish around the same spots in points and just work a lot of themselves out.
Mm-hmm.
I
think Thrasher's got, he won 2 races, but he did so not kind of mediocre and not great at one race that next year he's still got he's got room for improvement fairly easily.
Yeah.
But I think out of he and Fry as the rookies on the star team that everybody was kind of worried about kind of coming from amateurs, he clearly carried that crown on that team for those guys. But I think with Thrasher, my question, the reason I wanted to talk about him was he single-handedly won 2 races after winning the LCQ. Not because he was winning the heat races and had a bad accident and had to go to the LCQ. Like, he ended up in the LCQ, won them, and then turned around and just won the main event.
Two things with that is the LCQ is an extra practice under race conditions
Yeah.
on race night just before your main.
Mm-hmm.
And that kid's young
For
and an
250s, yeah, that's a
excellent,
big point.
yeah, and he's young and in excellent condition, and he's always been a good outdoor rider. And it was at Atlanta, which is a super rhythmy outdoor track, basically. So I think it was a combination of those three, and it's not taking anything away from him. The kid's young. He's in excellent shape. He's a hell of a rider under those conditions. And he got a couple extra laps to really see what the track was going to do coming into the main event that some of the other guys didn't have. And not that they necessarily need it. I mean, look who else is around them. It's a bunch of the career 250 guys or been around the block quite a bit, factory guys, So personally, I think that has a lot to do with it. I mean, you couldn't see like Craig or Nichols or any of those guys be able to come back and do that many races back to back to back to back and still have enough energy to go through and almost be at sprint speed for 10 out of the 20 minutes or whatever. So I think that's the old X factor to that LCQ main event win down there in Atlanta. Kid's smart and he can ride the hell out of a bike, and he's in great shape and he's young.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I think those are all really great points that kind of maybe explain why it's not so much of an anomaly as it was a fairly explainable set of factors that put him in first place, and not just like.
I mean, it was a perfect storm.
Come from, yeah, it definitely was, but it's a perfect storm is still explainable factors versus, like what,
yeah.
So
it took me a while to kind of figure out what happened, because that never happens.
Yeah, it's easy for him to come out and say like, "Oh yeah, we had a 2 or 3 week break, and so we had time to practice, and we really figured some stuff out on the bike."
You were still in the LCQ.
You do well. It's easy to be like, "Yeah, we obviously figured something out last week." Well, duh, you figured something out. You haven't been winning, and you just won.
Yeah.
No, so I think that's a really good point, and I think
there's also a lot of luck and a lot of I can't not qualify for this race, so I better give it my all going on in there too.
When a fire gets lit under your ass,
you
start moving.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. I did. We've gone over some of these guys, and I completely forgot about this. Was basically a record year as far as the number of first-time winners and number of different winners across the coast, because we had Jet, Thrasher, Hunter, Mcadoo, Hammacker get their first wins this season.
Oh yeah.
Thrasher got 2 wins this season. His first time not only getting 1 win but 2 wins in there, which is exciting. Part of the reason why Hammacker, finished with enough points to get Rookie of the Year was because he got his first win. So yeah, those were some to talk about. Anything in particular on Colt Nichols, Christian Craig, or Justin Cooper, the stars of the Star Yamaha squad this year?
Yeah, either make 250s a full season and not a feeder class, or get the fuck up to 450s.
Well, I mean, there's something to be said about Craig straddling the line,
Yeah. And that's
granted, they're going to play the game as long as they want to play the game, as long as the game's there for them to play about, they're riding in the 250s as long as they can,
and I can't blame them. The 250 is a better race bike than a 450, hands down, period. Like, why go up and try to basically rope a tornado and ride it around for 30 minutes when you have a bike that is a good race bike, good power all the way through, handles great, smaller, lighter bike. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
don't blame them for that. I would rather race a 250 than a 450 any day of the week. But with the way that the series is currently set up, it's broken. It's superbly broken. And with all the loopholes that they have, it's easy for guys to do that, to exploit them. And I think the AMA and Feld need to get together and come up with a better plan overall so that we can either keep talent spread out or let guys keep moving up to the 450 to kill their careers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got to figure something out.
Something needs to get done. Yeah. There's no question about that. Need to figure out a way to do it. Start testing something and just go from there.
I mean, it doesn't have to be right the first year. The only one that's going to bitch are the people on Vital, and who really cares?
They're not racing, and half of them probably don't go to races.
Yeah, but I don't know, and that's really the only thing that I have with those guys. I mean, they had phenomenal years and won more championships,
Mm-hmm.
and I think, what is it? Nichols and Cooper both have to move up.
I can't believe I'm blanking on this. I looked and figured it out, and
I can't 100% remember, to be honest with you, but
I'm pretty embarrassed. I don't think any of them have to move up next year.
Yeah, I can't remember. One of them was real close. Maybe they both.
I think they both get one more year.
Yeah, this year.
I'll have to look and see, but I'm pretty sure they both have one more
their
year.
Championship. Yeah, that whole section of the rule book is broken. So,
well, it was nice to get that clarification from them on that, rule where it was kind of gray about the way it listed it in one section and then didn't say it. Didn't say it the next one. Let's see. I don't think this article says it.
But I mean, that's the worst part, is especially with the new acquisition for the Star team, where these dudes going to go.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that might have been why I'm getting confused about it, is because apparently I think part of the Star contract was that they get a guaranteed year. Whenever they do have to move up, they get a guaranteed 1 year.
Well, that was when it was two separate teams. I don't know if it's like that anymore.
Oh, I thought that was part of the new switch.
That was past contracts. That's why Farese is still on Star.
Oh, and so it wasn't. It was more of just like Star saying, like, "Hey, we're not a 450 team, but we'll give you a 450 bike."
Yeah, like we'll let you step up to the factory Yamaha. It was through factory Yamaha somehow.
Factory Yamaha kind of helped them out and gave them the bike and stuff, so they didn't have to prompt it. Oh, I was thinking it made more sense now that they are the same team.
I don't know. Yeah, and I mean, it should, but I don't know, because I know there was a couple past Yamaha guys where that's kind of where their contracts fell, and they were in their contract was you have 1 year guaranteed 450. Like, I know Farese is the most recent one, obviously, but that's the way his contract was, and they even came out and said it. I think what was the other kid that moved up and was only on Star for like a year? Was it last year or the year before? He was the same way, where he had a guaranteed year to kind of prove himself a little bit on a 450, and then they had first right of refusal and they let him go. I can't remember who it was.
I'm blanking. Can't even think about it. Yeah, there's definitely something they gotta do on that. Oh, here we are. Here's my pointing out list. Yeah, Colt Nichols has only hit 2. Craig, amazingly enough, I remember this one really hard because I've looked into this one. Out of all the seasons, he's done 250.
He's only finished one season out of 9.
Exceeded.
Yeah. And I think Colt Nichols has been racing the Martin brothers since the Martin brothers got into 250s, which is insane. Like, we all talk shit about the Martin brothers hanging out in 250s, and then you got Colt Nichols hanging out with his little earrings.
There's nobody important that's pointing out this year. That's what, yeah. I was thinking that was the case, that there was nobody pointing out.
Maybe
Colt
this
only
is
exceeded it twice.
Yeah, maybe this is a great time to run a 125 feeder program or something like that. I don't know.
I think yeah, I don't know. It could have been really exciting having. I keep forgetting about it, but they were in there for a turn in a main event, to see what the Martin brothers could have added to the championship scenarios, to see what Fortner could have added to the championship scenario in his coast. If the Martin brothers would have been racing, their coast would have been some pretty intense championship points, I think, playing out. Even if Alex wasn't wasn't a top 3 guy, maybe I think he would have definitely had been there some races to give some of the guys that were fighting for the top 3 points,
Yeah.
stealing some points, but taking away some points that they needed. So I think next year should be pretty exciting, depending on how the coasts work out.
Yeah.
Or maybe if they all of a sudden decided to have all the top guys running 117 round series.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do that, but I think next year should be pretty exciting, and then we'll just see how we'll get to see how they do outdoors too, to give the idea. Because I mean, it's not like these guys don't know how to ride 17 rounds in a row. Outdoors is definitely more physically demanding. It may not be as like technically dangerous, because half of them don't get hurt as many times as they do in Supercross. But we'll see.
But the injuries are typically a lot more severe when you do get hurt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you go flying off the bike at 60 miles an hour down a hill.
Or like
30
feet in the air.
Yeah, catapult. It can definitely be.
Michael, really, what do you mean with your A-Ray comment? Was that with the Yamaha thing, or just A-Ray being A-Ray? I can't remember. Did A-Ray race for Yamaha?
He did. He did a fill-in ride on Yamaha on the Cycle Trader team, I think, or Rock River, whatever team it was at the time. But I think, well, he may not be talking about this, but I know A-Ray is a guy they use as an example all the time for guys that, if they changed the 250 class up to where you didn't really point out, or they changed it to where you did run a full series and made them kind of more even, that A-Ray could be a guy that, or even now could, maybe jump down into 250s and do well. I know they made jokes about Phil Nicoletti jumping back in and racing the East Coast series this year because of how weak the rest of the field was there. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Do you fight for 22nd place, or 18th to 22nd by hoping to get in the main event in the 450 class, or race 250s and finish top 10? Obviously, that's a multi-layered answer because it all depends on a number of different factors. But
I mean,
that's part of it. Is
a win's a win, man. You're either on the podium or you're not, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't really matter what you're riding to get there. I mean, look at Cooper Webb. I couldn't help it.
He won. We'll talk about that next week.
Right.
Yeah, no, I think in the next year, Volan's going to be back. He was really exciting to watch this year. I know you and I were both impressed by him, seeing what he could do. I don't think his results when he was racing this year were a fluke by any means.
No, his dad was good too, man.
Yeah, well, I think he was basically one of the first series of kids, if I'm not mistaken, that are like not to say that maybe like Thrasher,
the next generation kid,
do like the full amateur stuff, but Volan's the raised on a training facility program. There's definitely a separation there, and he was one of the first one. and it'll be interesting to see those kids come up and see how they do. And I, I think part of the problem is there's only so many factory rides that can really provide that level of competition. And then it doesn't matter how many riders you've got that are that competitive. We're still in a game where all the Hondas are not anywhere close to equal, and equipment does matter to an extent. And even if we're to a point where guys aren't pointing out of the season because they don't get hurt, there's still only so many factory rides in the 250 class that are competitive.
Yeah. Very true.
So, yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I think the 250s. I don't want to say that I thought it was going to be a boring year, but I didn't have a lot of hopes for it. Mostly because like every year we don't know who's going to be racing on what coast to know how exciting it was going to be. I think the only thing we all knew was that Hunter and Jet weren't going to be on the same coast.
Yeah.
So it was hard to get really hyped up about battles going into the season and what you thought was going to happen. But this year, here in 3 weeks, on May 29th, they're all going to be on the same starting gate twice in one day. And it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I can't wait for it, man. It's definitely going to be fun. Like I said, I like outdoors, man. Put them all together, let them run. Smell the gas and haul a little ass,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It'll be good. Anything else you can think about to add to the 250 conversation?
No, I mean, the 250s were fairly predictable this year. I think, I mean, even going through all the fantasy stuff, you could definitely tell that who the favorites were. I mean, the top fives almost every week were almost the same exact thing. And we really saw it the same way. I just kind of hope that they change it, man. Like, that's what I just want it to be changed,
Long for better days.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, besides that, I don't know. It'll always be a topic for discussion, but I'm interested to see if this Moseman and Jet little, I don't even know what to call it, a little tiff or whatever.
Exactly the word I was thinking of, little tiff.
Yeah, it carries over into outdoors.
I hope so.
I think on outdoors, Moseman isn't going to be around Jet that much, to be honest with you. There is quite the talent gap that is accentuated when you get the longer, faster tracks.
I just don't remember how well Moseman did outdoors.
I don't think he did bad, but I don't think he was.
But he's on a brand new team this year.
Yeah.
Maybe that helps him a little bit. I think you could also argue that Jet's technically on a better team now too. I mean, they were effectively the factory Honda of the 250s, but now they're the Jet factory Honda.
So let's see. Last year he didn't race outdoors. The year before he overall 8th place.
Well, we shall see. We shall see. Only one way we're gonna know. See who's standing at the top in September. Man, isn't. I was looking at the schedule the other day for outdoors, and it doesn't look like that many rounds when you look at the schedule, but then when you look at the calendar and there's some with breaks in between, it really drags out over the months.
Oh yeah.
We got January, February, March, April for Supercross, and it just feels like so much longer for outdoors, and it's going to be great.
It's because it's better.
It's going to be great. Yeah, I don't think I have too much else.
Too early predictions, man.
Oh, too early predictions for Supercross?
No, who's going to win the outdoor?
Oh, outdoors?
250.
All right. think Justin Cooper and Colt Nichols are going to be in the top 3. And I think the other bike will be a Honda.
What? You forgot about somebody that just switched over to Yamaha and didn't race Supercross, man.
What?
That almost won last year.
Ooh.
Martin.
Oh, crap.
You
See,
got
so I
old.
told you. Oh, man.
You got old Jeremy Martin. He's got 2 championships.
Ooh, don't tell Colt Nichols, but I think so. I'm gonna do switch swap here. I think purely based on just kind of like skill. I think Jeremy Martin and Justin Cooper in a Honda. I just if it's top 3 Yamahas, which it very well could be, I'll still be a little shocked. I would rather Colt Nichols be in the top 3.
Yeah.
But I think because it's Jeremy Martin and watching him last year on a slower bike.
Yeah. He is on probably not too arguably the best 250 outdoor bike that has ever been made.
Yeah, I don't know how you could. I mean, I think the only thing you could argue is that some people may not be able to ride that bike, which if a certain person who has clearly not gone back to a 450 team does end up getting announced that they're on a certain bike in between now and next week, we can talk about that more. I think some people may not just be able to ride that bike because it is effectively, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a backwards engine is way different than a steel versus aluminum frame.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it is the most out there bike out of the field, the most different, right? So I think like it's easier to assume that somebody just may not be able to ride that bike.
If it works, it's not stupid, though.
Well, I didn't say it was stupid. I'm just saying, like, you know, if you grew up riding a bike that clearly works one way, and then there's only one other bike that rides totally different because it's built quite literally backwards, you know, in the power plant department than the rest of them, that I think it's too easy to write it off as, well, I guess it makes sense that somebody can't jive with that bike. So the fact that people can just jump from other bikes to the most different bike in the class and jive with it, I think it's pretty good. I mean, we haven't heard anything bad about him riding the bike, which we could have seen it. That's the only reason I have 2 different predictions. Is I think Jeremy Martin should be, but also he got hurt again, and we didn't actually get to see what he can do. And I saw Colt Nichols win a championship, and I saw Justin Cooper win a championship.
Yeah, and the craziest thing to me is that both of those brothers literally got season-ending injuries within a half a lap of each other.
Yeah, it's just
the same race.
When is that?
Odds have to be astronomical.
So much brother news in 2021 Supercross. 2021 Supercross, the year of the brothers, disaster and fortune.
250 Supercross, dude. Not even all Supercross. Just 250s.
Just one class. Just one class. 2 sets of brothers. One did really well. One did disaster, or had a disaster.
Oh yeah.
It's so bad. What's your too early prediction?
Oh, it's J Mart all day.
Okay. Well, I think if we end up doing that review show, we can, or preview show, we can dive more into it. But I definitely would have to say I think J Mart is on my 250 MX top 3. Maybe I swap Colt and Justin and just call it J Mart, Colt, and a red bike. No, I think the numbers play in the favor of Yamaha being the top 3.
Oh, not even the numbers. I think they have the talent. They have the bike. I wouldn't be surprised if it's all blue bikes up top in the 250s.
I mean, they could. I mean, they have the talent pool. They could be top 5. I think it's too hard to say that there's not going to be a red bike or a green bike in the top 5, though. I think top 5 is 3 blue, 1 red, 1 green. That's
Maybe.
it. I don't even think there's a Husqvarna, a KTM.
Those bikes they're kind of
Yes.
lacking though. In the 250 department, it's definitely the general consensus is they have a little bit more R&D that they need to do to be competitive with the other bikes.
Yeah, they didn't have any standouts last year, did they?
They haven't for a while on the 250s that I know of.
Hmm.
Now 450s, they have a good bike.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they have a good team that builds a good bike. I don't know which one it is. You know, I know it's a popular bike, and guys either love them or hate them. So
Could be a frame factor. We can dive into that on the preview show, though.
right. Sorry, folks, I broke Tiller. You can see him here talking to himself, trying to figure stuff out.
Yeah. I don't know. What else for our 250 2021 Supercross review show?
I don't have much else. I mean, it's hard to do a proper review show when you're literally talking about 2 different seasons within one season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could have either been twice as long or, real short and just gone over the championship stuff. I don't know. I think we talked about. We just went over the championships. We talked about the coasts. What we liked, what we didn't like about each one. We've clearly touched on things we wish we could have seen in the season. Some of the misfortunes, some of the exciting things overall we talked about. We went over some of the privateer riders, overall almost all the factory riders. One final name that I didn't mention, and I had on my note here. 6th place in the West Coast Championship Series. Garrett Marchbanks. It's not, and not to say obviously he deserves a round of applause, but for the fact that he was a guy that had a big story coming into the season about Daytona winner, doesn't get a ride back at Kawasaki again. Probably only finished 6th place. Well, no, I think he still would have finished 6th place behind Jalek with that gap after his Atlanta dumb move. He might have finished 5th. That's the best he could have done after that. But for hit the story that they like to talk about for him going into there, and the fact that he won Daytona, got on Club MX. I think 6th place is a pretty respectable ride for him and everybody that finished above him. Everybody that finished above him was factory ride. He came out and he killed it.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's I mean, I don't have too much to say besides that. I mean, he's definitely seems to have overcome adversity pretty decently this year. Part of the reason why I am wondering if he didn't get the call back from PC is part of what we saw at Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
That
a little bit of childish mentality.
Yeah, just like a snappy attitude, I have zero idea if that's actually true, or I don't know. It's hard not to trust that team when they're picking people. That's kind of like Roger going out and picking up Valhalla, where we're like, okay, and when they dropped Marchbanks, it was kind of the same way. We're like, that seems crazy to me, but
it's kind of hard to second guess Mitch Payton's decisions about which rider he does and doesn't want on his team.
And that's why, I mean, Savachi was the same way, where we were all like, he does great. Like, we don't get it. And then it came out that he just had a shitty attitude, and it's never Mitch that comes out and says that stuff unless he's directly questioned about specific times that has ever been an issue. He's not out there to drag somebody. Yeah. So and I wonder if maybe that's kind of what we saw, is that snappy attitude where he just got a little bit behind and got pissed off and took it out on somebody. I wonder if that happens in the garage or at practice or something like that. Now, with the Club MX guys, what is it? It's Tony, I think, is the guy that runs the thing. I mean, Brad. Yeah, it was some real common name. Maybe they just get along a lot better than Mitch and Marchbanks. I don't know.
Well, they signed him for a 2-year deal, so we'll get to see.
I mean, either way, he came out and now Brandon
Haas.
Yeah. And he's got what? He's got old Filthy Phil that's going to be there with him. I mean, who knows? Phil seems like the definitely stay to his own, but I've also heard him say some stuff on like Pulp, and that really makes me think that he has no problem sitting down with the younger cats and kind of teaching them, or kind of letting them tag along to learn by visual cue type of deal. So maybe it'll be good for Garrett. And nobody knows more about an attitude blowing you up than old Filthy Phil, So
yeah, I'm excited to see how that works out, and it's interesting to see these guys are clearly learning. That whole team, with this kind of a setup, it looks like they've got a good setup going, and I'm excited to see what they're able to pull off.
Well, it's also important to remember that Club MX is not a new place without talent that goes there every single week. So they've turned out some of the best amateur riders that this country has ever seen. They still are a prominent training ground for a lot of pros. Brandon and their mechanic has been around the game for a long time. So it's not like they're coming into it just some rich dude that wants to blow a bunch of money on a race team. I mean, they have what they need to have in order to be a very successful team, except for the monetary and factory backing. So I think that's important with those guys too.
Oh yeah, no, they've got history. They know what they're doing. I mean, Zacho was still hanging out, riding up there. He's still connected to those guys. Yeah, they've got the, I don't know if pedigree is the exact word for that particular situation, but the point's made. Yeah, they're not just some people that are let kids pay there to ride a motocross track. So
yeah,
I'm excited to see them. This feels like a really good group they've got together, and see what their 250 guys can pump out next year for Supercross. They did good this year, and see what they can do for outdoors, and let them rock and roll.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, I don't really have anything.
No, I just felt like I wanted to mention him as a honorable mention, or just a top mention, or deserving mention, whatever you want to call it. I feel bad that I skipped over him.
Everybody else has. Heyo. But
yeah,
no,
that's about it. I think that's about a wrap on the 250 review.
Yeah, let's run her down here real quick. Yeah. All right, guys, that's our 250 review. Like we said, it is hard to do both coasts, and we're both new at this. We definitely have not been in the media game for, I think, combined, we maybe have a year. So bear with us. 450s will definitely be better. Michael, we appreciate all the comments and you jumping in with the conversation.
Appreciate your support.
Yeah. We'll definitely we'll catch you next week if we don't catch you on the Discord. As always, please do not forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook. Also, please do not forget to stop over at Bro Taco Foods with the Shaka. BroTacoFoods.com. Use code PTTG for 20% off. While Sean is out on his, would it be a sabbatical?
Sure.
Yeah, while he's
out, taking
out,
time off work to go.
Yeah,
maybe he's researching new hot sauce flavors in Texas.
Yeah, doing his best Action Bronson music video for, what is that, Easy Rider or something like that, on his new Dyna. Hit him up, get some hot sauce, so when he comes back, he's like, oh my gosh, I got so much work to do. Be like, that'll teach you for riding your bike across country without inviting us.
Or
Ha.
without inviting us. Yeah, I told him the other day I need to plan a Dana road trip.
Oh yeah. Also, please do not forget to stop over at sunstar-breaking.com. We do not have a promo code. They are rebuilding the website, so we will have promo codes in the future. Until then, please click the rider area, hit up the support at sunstar-breaking.com. Use any type of secret code that you want to let them know that you came from PTTG, and they will hook you up with the old 30%. Let me get that thing off of there. There's a lot of button clickies, and they're on two different things, man. I'll get better at it, I promise.
Practice.
Also, a big thank you to Nova Pro Media, who makes sure that we have all the buttons that we can click and all the, I don't know, gear, tech, cool software stuff that we can use.
Software
Yeah.
black magic.
Yeah, dude, it is. It's weird magic, man. Thank you to those guys for getting us all set up. Also, thank you to them and Jesse for the power, the number 2, theground.com. Jesse spends a lot of time working on this. It's like another kid to him, man. And it's great to watch it.
Baby.
Yeah, it's great to watch it grow. Like, for those of you that have kind of been around for a while, it has grown exponentially, and we continue to sit around and come up with good ideas, like a bunch of second lieutenants that are new to a unit. So if you've ever been in the military, you might get that reference. If not, I'm sorry, as somebody that has been. Also, congratulations to the Pick'ems winner, Brian Bearden, bringing it home. I guess Jesse is working on getting your trophy out, but that is all that we have. We have a lot of 250 talk, a lot of statistics, Tiller running down everything as usual, and me trying to keep up. Until next week, Monday, 6:30 on both Facebook and YouTube. We're going to take a pretty deep dive into the 450s, and I have a feeling they will be a lot of talk. Oh, speaking of 450s, did you check out that YouTube video that I sent about that orthopedic surgeon going over Roxon's injuries?
I saw that one when it came out. Before I haven't
Oh.
watched it again since you leaked it, but I remember watching it when it came out. I probably need to because I'm sure there's probably some relevant information there that I forgot about. But it was definitely
dude, that whole channel. Like, I went back and looked at that dude's channel. He does a lot of like motocross injury breakdowns.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's definitely a good channel, man.
On his channel. I'm the worst about watching YouTube videos. It is
right
on YouTube.
Right. But
it's hard to get me to sit down enough to watch a YouTube video.
Well, in any case, Tiller's not going to watch it, but if you would like to watch it, jump on over to our Discord. You can find the little link, I guess it would be called, the little activation link, on both the Facebook and power2theground.com, or you can message one of us through power2theground.com. We do have a direct message system. So if you would like to join us on Discord, kind of hear all my stupid jokes in text and all the cool videos and us going over news that either gets leaked or crazy silly season rumors or anything like that throughout the course of the day, go ahead and hit up that link and come join us, man. It's fun. And check out that video. So it's Tiller's gonna watch the video because I'm gonna bug him all week until he does.
I'll watch it before I go to sleep tonight. 2 hours long. Is it 2 hours long? Because I ain't got time for that.
No, I think it's like 20 minutes or something.
Got it. I'll watch it before I go to sleep.
All right, man. All right, guys. We will see you guys later. As always, it has been a night, and I greatly appreciate you all for tuning in. Tiller, thank you for all the hard work that you did putting this show together. We greatly appreciate it, man, and I'm looking forward to the 450 talk.
Looking forward to find the post, or I guess it's a post that Jesse put up on Facebook. I'm the least Facebook friendly of all of us about and give us some what you want to hear about in the 450s.
Yeah.
Let us know what we need to talk about.
we got a week to try to come up with some deep talks. So let us know what you guys would like to see. We'll try to cram it all into about an hour and a half. So we might not get as deep as what we usually do because there's a lot to go over, but we're going to give it hell. So
Absolutely.
until next week, we'll catch you all later. Peace.
Have a good night.